The Instructor podcast with Terry Cook, talking with leaders, innovators, experts and game changers about what drives them.
Welcome to the Green Room. This is a show where we cover all the latest news and hot topics from within our little driving instructor world. As always, I am your mediocre host, Terry Cook. But I'm delighted to be here, but you'll be delighted that it's not just me because I am joined by stone cold Chris Bensted. How are we doing, Chris?
I'm good, thank you. Yes, the world is a good place. I'm happy.
Oh, why is the world a good place? I like this start.
I'm feeling really in the right space at the moment. I've reached some personal goals, and I'm quite enjoying what I'm doing. I'm still loving theory. I thought it would have worn off by now.
I feel like you may have taken my space then. So I'm not in that space. Give me some space back. But no, thank you for joining me today. As always, on this edition of the Green Room, we're going to be covering news and topics. In particular today, we're going to be looking at some of our pet peeves, the things that maybe aren't that serious, but potentially are. Maybe we'll decide that as we go along. But the things that bother us and potentially bother other instructors as well. Now, we are going to start off with some news, though, because the biggest news, as I see it at least, is that you may have noticed we're not live on YouTube at the minute. That was what we planned last month. I say we. It's what I planned and threw on you, and you went, yeah, all right. And then I said, no, we're not. And he went, yeah, all right. My brain, I don't think, cannot cope with more work and more stress and pressure and all that at the minute. So putting a pin in that maybe until 2025. But we're not. How do you feel about us not being on YouTube, Chris?
It doesn't feel any different to when we were previously not on YouTube. But I was looking forward to seeing what happened. I like different and, kind of a suck it and see. Let's find out what happens. Because you don't know till you try. So, yeah, but it's fine. Yeah, I think everyone should give Terry a big hug, and then he'll feel better.
Welcome to the Green Room, not on YouTube. Number 45, we're on, say. Number 45, we're racking up those numbers. 50 next year. That'll be a big milestone. We'll do it live somewhere. So, we are recording this a few days after Road Safety Week. And I really enjoyed Road Safety Week this year. I did loads of stuff. So before I tell you my stuff, what did you get up to for Road Safety Week, Chris?
Well, I have the pleasure of speaking to lots of theory pupils every week from lots of instructors. So I was asking them all what they knew about Road Safety Week. They didn't. They weren't aware it was on. And so I was doing a bit of education. And I discovered a really cool thing, which was my big offering, which was the campaign from National Highways. I still want to call them Highways England. National Highways, about the blind spots on lorries. Have you seen the advert?
I haven't.
There's a guy who's got his little girl in the back of the car, he's driving along, and he goes into the red zone. And everything goes red, and And the website, if you've seen the advert, haven't checked out the website, it's really cool. You move your mouse around and it reveals the blind spots and stuff. And it links in with some work that I did with TRL if you search for HGV blind spots, TRL, Transport Research Laboratory, on Google, you'll find it. There's an app that you can use, which you hold your phone up and does the whole where are the blind spots thing. But there's also a nice little PDF that you can use for your pupils. I'll send you the link. I'm sure you can do something fancy with it in the notes.
Yes, I'm not aware of that, so I'll look forward to checking that out. The video I'm aware of at the minute is the one with the ice cream van that is showing you how you handle pedestrians and cyclists on the road and who has priority. And for anyone that doesn't know, pay particular attention to who is the ice cream man. Hint, it's not me, just before anyone gets any ideas. I'm not that privileged. But yeah, I enjoyed Road Safety Week this week. I had a similar thing to you in that I did a lot with my students. I asked them all, probably not a great question, but it led to some interesting conversations, which was, what are you going to do to make sure you're not one of these statistics once you've passed? And I got some, you could tell who bought into what we were talking about and who didn't, and not everyone did. I'm not perfect. I can't swing everyone around. But in some interesting conversations and some interesting follow-up messages, I also recorded a mini-series for the Driving Test podcast, one of the podcasts I do for learners, which was one episode every day across the 7 days of Road Safety Week. And each episode was talking about how the driving test doesn't prepare you for safe driving for life. And we covered things like motorways, driving in the dark, distractions, that kind of stuff. And as I'm saying this, I realise now why the chap from the DVSA hasn't replied to my last email. So, yeah, maybe I should have considered that slightly differently. But either way, really enjoy doing that. And I got some really good numbers on that and some good feedback as well. So that was all good. But the other thing that I did was I set a challenge to driving instructors and I asked the question, can driving instructors raise £1,683 for Break the Road Safety Charity? Because, just for anyone unaware, 1,683 was the number of people that died on UK roads in 2023. So we set that target, and the answer is yes, we can, because we raised over £1,700, and there's still some more to go in because I've got to collect some pennies off my students who joined in the raffle and stuff like that.
So the answer was no, because it was too much.
Don't spoil it. Like, this is the literally one good thing I've got going at the minute. Don't take it away from me.
Congratulations. Well done. Sorry, that's what I meant to say.
Yeah. Thanks for that. But yeah, no, I did just want to say, genuinely, I was really chuffed to achieve that. And just wanted to say thank you to everyone that's donated or supported or shared or encouraged. Because at time of recording, we've actually raised more than anyone else for Break this year, which is on one hand really good, but also slightly surprising. I would have assumed there'd be some bigger numbers than that, but maybe that just shows how overly optimistic I can be at times. But yeah, really chuffed to have done that. Because look, anyone that's raised money for charity will know that it can be quite disheartening at times. You know, you put stuff out there, thousands of people see it or hear it, and you won't get anywhere near that back. So even if you couldn't donate, but you have sent me a message or commented or just shared it to try and get someone else to donate, genuinely appreciate that. And I know Break are grateful as well. So, well done to everyone that chipped in there. I'm really pleased that we managed to hit that goal. I don't quite know if I've got the gumptions to do it again for Road Pieces event in May, but we'll see. We'll see. Any final comments on sort of road safety or anything there, Chris, before we move on?
No.
Excellent. Let's move on then, because I also wanted to talk about one thing that perked my attention this month, which was Louise Hay, who is I've got this written down, Secretary of State for Transport. She was in the Parliamentary Select Committee, I believe it was, and she was talking about road safety and road death, essentially. One of the quotes she said was, if road death numbers were any other death, it'd be treated as a pandemic. And the reason why I think this is newsworthy is because politicians, in particular, ones of high-ranking positions, don't tend to say that. I cannot recall any high-ranking politician, as in one in a position, if you like, saying that I can't recall one saying it, essentially. So I think the two things that are prominent there is one, that the whole thing she said clearly shows she cares. It's not a flippant remark, because that's a direct, aggressive type of quote that the road safety people talk about that politicians don't usually. But the other thing I liked was the fact that she used the term road death and not accident. And for too long, it's been slipped in that way, accident. And for anyone wondering why that matters, if you like, it's not an accident until it's proven to be an accident. It's definitely a collision. It's definitely someone died on the road. So we call it for what it is. If at some point it's then proved to be an accident, we can refer to it that way. But it's 100% a collision or a death or road harm. So we call it that way. And it's also paying a little bit of respect to the person that's been harmed or killed and their families. So yeah, I was just really pleased to see the Secretary for Transport saying this. What are your thoughts on this, Chris?
Well, absolutely. I've been doing this too long to think that words mean change. But you're right. I haven't heard people really make those statements. It's always, we need to do as much as we can. That doesn't mean anything. Making that say, it's something we've often said is that, it's the biggest threat to under 30s is road death. It fights it out with suicide, sadly, on the statistics. And, I would say over the last decade, maybe even 20 years, suicide's been up there at times and been spoken about more, and has been less taboo. Road safety still hasn't really had the recognition of the risk because it's around us all the time, and if we make it scary, we're causing ourselves a bit of a problem. So yeah, I as always, new minister, we want to hear what she's got to say. From what I've seen, she's kind of doing the schools and the, all of those things. There's a few conferences around. I'm sure we'll make space for her if she is available. Instructors would like to hear. And, if you don't want to go to something in person, maybe fit in a podcast.
It's been suggested. It hasn't been responded to. But she's Northern, right? And a proper Northerner as well. So I can see some ass kicking coming. Maybe that's just my Northern bias coming out. I don't know. But
and I'm available to translate should the rest of the country need it. So that's fine.
Oh, do I need to go proper Yorkshire again? But one thing I hadn't put down in my notes, actually, but as you were talking then, it reminded me that Sharon Huddleston, and I hope I don't get these names wrong, there was Sharon Huddleston and someone else that met with the roads minister, which is Lillian Greenwood, to present the proposals for graduated driving licenses. There were two other people there, and I can't remember who, so please forgive me. But Sharon Huddleston, for those that may not be aware, appeared on season 7 of the Instructor podcast, talking about her daughter Caitlin, who died in a crash, and her push for graduated driving licenses, and it didn't feel like a publicity stunt. The government and Lillian Greenwood didn't promote it so much. It was Sharon and I cannot remember who I was one with. I can't remember if it was Break or Road Piece, but it was those that promoted it as well, or more so. And like you said, I'm with you. Words don't matter as much as actions. Actions do speak louder than words, but it feels like a start. It feels like more than I've seen in the last 7 years I've been an instructor. So, that's better than nothing. And, here's what it is. It's getting the ball rolling. And if that ball doesn't start rolling, it's never going to get anywhere.
Yeah, absolutely. I just think that it's so often deceptive, and we don't push, or people stop pushing in the same way. We need to make sure that if we see an opportunity that we still flag it up, that we still make the effort. And at the moment, the worst thing is everybody's so busy. The pressures that are still there on the thing that we don't want to mention because everyone talks about it too much. But the minor delays being faced by the DVSA, that all of that's going on so much that it's easy to drop the other stuff. But, when these opportunities come up, let's shout about it. So let's look for opportunities to support what other people are doing and to make sure that it's being spoken about as hopefully this mentioning it here does.
And look, treating the MPs like they're a puppy is always a good thing. When they do something well, then we praise them and sing their praises, and then hopefully they're more likely to do the thing well again. So, treat MPs like puppies. That's what the P stands for now. That's what we're going with. But before I got myself into any further trouble, let's take a moment to set the table, Chris. Do you want to tell everybody who you are and what you have to offer?
It's no wonder that you can't get a transport minister on the show, to be honest. But anyway, who am I? It's a good question.
Would you and your puppies like to come on the show?
To follow that, I don't know. I am Chris Bensted. I am the co-founder of the DITC, the Driving Instructor and Trainers Collective, a signposting platform for driving instructors who seems to be spending his time at the moment answering the phone about people who've got 6 points on their license and are being at risk of coming off the register. It seems to be a growing number. Don't do it. Don't touch your phone. And I'm also a theory trainer telling pupils about why they shouldn't touch their phones because it's on the theory test. So that is how I spend my week.
I had a great one of those today when we pulled up outside the road and the lad literally just grabbed his phone out, thinking, let me show you this. I went, whoa. You've literally just broken the law. And he's looking at me, I'm like, no, you have. And we ran through the whole thing. And I don't think the engine was even, so it was the start-stop technology. So it cut out, but it was still technically on, which still counts. And it was an interesting conversation. And it's like we spoke about last month, actually. It's how do you choose which law to break? Whether we agree with the law or not is almost irrelevant. That's the law, So it was an interesting conversation. But yes, you are listening to the Instructor Podcast Green Room Edition. And if you are enjoying these shows, then you can always get a bit more. Head to theinstructorpodcast.com where you can find links over there on how to find out more about our membership, including a 3 weeks trial or If you would like to come and watch these live or take part in some expert sessions delivered by people such as the good man himself, Chris Bensted, Stone Cold Chris Bensted, if you will, delivering one on roundabouts, I think, was still one of my favourite we've had. But either way, yes, go to www.theinstructorpodcast.com, or you can find the link in the show notes. If you have any trouble finding this podcast, which you shouldn't do because you're listening, the website is the best place to start. But let's move on, because there's a little bit more news that I want to talk about. And firstly, I want to give a shout out to Emma Cottington's new CPD book. And calling it a CPD book is not doing it justice, because I was privileged to have a look at an early version of this to give a little bit of feedback, and it's a corker. Genuinely, I think it should be on, I'm going to say every instructor's Christmas list, but let's face it, if you don't do CPD, there's no point putting it in a Christmas list. But it should be on every instructor's Christmas list, because it's a brilliant way to not only track your CPD, but to implement things from that CPD throughout a 52-week period. So yes, go and check it out. I'll find a link to put in the show notes for you so you can get it straight away. I think there's a discount on like the first 20 or 30 people that buy it. I don't know if that's gone. It may have disappeared by the time this goes out, but go and check it out and go and buy it. I'm a big fan. One of the things I do personally on the Instructor Podcast Premium is when I put shows out over there is I include some PDFs which have these CPD things on them. I will keep doing that, but I will also be encouraging people to go and take this book, because that puts it in a more structured manner. But yes, go do it. I'm assuming, Chris, you haven't had a chance to look through this.
I haven't, no, but I know Emma, and it's going to be awesome.
Very much so. I'm a big fan, but enough plugging Emma's book. Spend more time plugging his own stuff, not hers. I want to move on because we are in awards season as well. Intelligent Instructor have recently released their categories for the awards, and I thought it might be interesting if we shared a couple of those categories and spoke about potential people that we may vote for, or throw some ideas out there. So are there any of these that stand out to you, Chris, or do you want me to start chucking a couple out?
No, you go for it. Go for it. Which ones stand out to you?
Do you know the first one that stands out, right, is Training Provider of the Year? Because I have had many a conversation with this, with people behind the scenes around this, because it's not Red Driving School or the AA or Bill Plant or BSM or anyone like that. They just have more instructors. That's it. And I'm not meaning to be critical of those guys. You know, they should win National Driving School of the Year or whatever, and I'm sure they do good training in the bulk or whatever. But to me, that's not a fair vote. I know it's a public vote. I know it's open to a vote. But if you've got 10,000 instructors on your book, and then, Chris, you're providing training, and you work with 7 instructors that year, well, that doesn't make them a better trainer. It makes them have more instructors because of what they do. So in terms of Training Provider of the Year, have you got any thoughts on that, or have you got any suggestions who you might put forward?
Slightly cynical, possibly, but the fact that they get awarded these things gets them more trainees, and them getting trainees, whichever one of the big schools it is at the moment, seems to keep us all in business when we're independent, because we're picking up all the pieces. I won't name specific names, but there's a couple at the moment that are constantly getting PDIs getting in touch who are saying, we haven't been given what we need. We're being taught to pass the test, but we haven't been given the full picture, and I think most independent trainers will agree. But as you said, I will be amazed if for that training provider award goes to someone who is not a national trainer. And I say that as someone who's arguably a national trainer. I work nationally. But it's as you said, it's density of the people you can get voting for you, who will vote for the one that they've picked because they want to be on the winning team.
I think what I would say, I'm not going to say who I'm going to vote for because I don't know yet, if I'm being honest. But there are people out there like yourself, Chris, and like Tom Stenson and Bright Coaching and Knowledge Instructor Trainer and Inspire and Bob, obviously. Everyone loves Bob and Client Set of Learning and Lynn Barrett. There will be hundreds of people that listen to this podcast, and I would urge you all to go out and vote for one of those. Now, I appreciate if everyone votes for a different person. That's not the best result, but it's still, it's getting the votes in the right direction. I'm not, again, just to clarify, I'm not meaning to pick on any of the national schools when I say this. there are faults there. You just address some of them, but I just don't feel that's the right thing. And to be fair, I think that's the only issue with the awards I've got in terms of the categories, but it's the one that springs out to me. So in that case, professional support provider of the year. Who stands out for you there? And also, what's the difference between a support provider and a trainer?
That was my, it's a weird title, professional support provider. Is it focused on apps? Have they worded it like that so it is as general as you want it to be? We've got the likes of Vicky and Kim who are doing business support stuff. That then fits in there nicely. Does it include car providers? Because actually they are a large part of supporting the business. My number one professional support provider, I would absolutely be naming He-Man Dual Controls. Right? There's an outside the box thought, but they have saved my life more times than anybody or anything else. And it was only when I did an interview for you, because you weren't about, that I had that opportunity to suddenly realise how much support was given by the likes of He-Man. It's that thing of what do you put under that category? It's a bit of a catch-all. And then I think it highlights how our industry isn't very good at that. We don't necessarily recognise what's out there and know what's there. It's very often instructors doing stuff, isn't it? It's not, we don't have other experts and professionals doing it for us. I'm a big fan of my drive time. We use it for our driving school for the diary, finance and all of that stuff. And I know that they won that last time. They really do provide the support for our business because they allow the instructors to go and do the rest of their job. And it's great. So many instructors out there don't know that that's available as a thing, whatever version of it you choose to use. And I think as a category, it always just kind of highlights the fact I think I'm fairly in touch. I still struggle to make a short list of people I'd put in there, but yeah, I don't know if it's an acceptable answer with the intelligent instructor, but He-Man is my support hero of choice.
I really like that shout a lot. I will just say Nick Smith is in the chat stealing my thunder because I was going to say it, and I'm slightly annoyed that he beat me to it. But yeah, my drive time won last year, and I wouldn't complain about that if my drive time won again. I think that they would have been my vote probably. However, now I said He-Man, and I think that's a really good shout because I love my drive time, obviously, but they've never saved my life, as you said. So, but it's interesting. You mentioned the cars; they have their own category as well. But what I will say about that support provider is that is what category I put the Instructor podcast in when I entered a couple of years ago and finished 5th. So took my bat and ball home and sulked when I didn't enter again last year. I will be entering this year, but a different one, which we'll discuss in a second, because we've also going to look at the Special Educational Needs Provider of the Year. Who or what? What is this professional? Go on, Chris, share your thoughts on this before I keep digging this hole.
I want it. Yeah. It's not normally how I sit here, is it? I don't normally do the it should be me thing, except for getting an OBE. I think we had that conversation. But anyway, I just want the letters. I think it'd be cool. Yeah, I really, with the theory work that I do all day, every day is SEN central. I want it to be an SEN award. I want it to be about that. So yeah, thank you very much. I would love it. Yeah, please vote for me. However, any of my colleagues that do the specialist work, I work with lots of them because obviously their pupils need to pass the theory test, and if they're struggling with the driving side of things, then they often will struggle with the theory. So any of them that are doing that specialist work, I think it's under-recognised. I think the one that is almost too big to be remembered, but does so much work, and he keeps telling me he's retiring, and I don't want him to. He hasn't yet, though. is John Rogers at Disability Driving Instructors. And I don't think people remember him under the SEN banner. And it's SEND now is much more recognised, which is disability on the end of the special educational needs and disabilities. He works his backside off, very underappreciated, and is an absolute legend. So, you know, if I'm going to step back and let someone take it, I will. I'll let John do that with, you know, open arms.
I think there's an obvious category here because they're more prominent. And I'm going to say the full name just to annoy you. Dr. Julia Malkin, MBE. They've got one, Chris. So for those of you listening, you really should be seeing Chris's face right now. But I think, look, I'm always honest, but I will be completely honest now. I think part of the problem you've got is I don't think people realise that's part of what you do. Your whole shtick is theory test explained. People I don't think realise the amount of work you do within that special educational needs vicinity. So I would, you would naturally have my vote for this. I think you just vote for one person on these. I've not checked. Did you vote for one, or is it just like three you've got to vote for? I can't remember. I haven't checked. But either way, you would be my top vote on this. And that's no offence to anyone, and not necessarily meant as a massive compliment to you, but it's true. That's what I would do. But I knew you'd have a better ring on that than me. But the next one that I'm going to come to is one that, I'll be honest with you, I haven't got a clue about. And I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. I don't know if I'm just being completely absent-minded when I say this. Marketing campaign of the year. I don't know. You're letting me go. I've got no words. I cannot think of a good one. I haven't seen a marketing campaign within the instructor industry that I can think of. That's a caveat. This year where I've gone, oh, that's really good. Apart from the ice cream van that I mentioned. Yeah, maybe that would get it.
Yeah. Well, there's two. I think there's the almost too obvious one, which is almost bigger than one campaign, which is Ready to Pass. I still think Ready to Pass has done some brilliant work on getting the message across. You know, I like the way they haven't taken the usual DVSA approach or flavour of things. Whether you love it or hate it, at least there is a message going out there. Admittedly, reports of, you know, getting a message saying, remember, if you're not ready, cancel your test the day after you can cancel your test, doesn't help. But I think Ready to Pass out there is one of them. Ready to Pass out, sorry.
I mean, I think these things are said as a slip of the tongue, but they're often there's some truth behind them.
But maybe we're worn out by it all. And then I would, the one that I mentioned previously, which is the National Highways, the one about the blind spots, which is titled, I'm just trying to find it. Know the HGV zones. It's about HGVs having limited vision. So yeah, know the HGV zones. I thought it was simple, effective, and it's something that people don't cover enough. Yeah, should definitely have a look at that one.
Genuine question, because I just thought of this as you were talking, and I don't know where this fits. My campaign to bring road safety and driving instructors closer together.
Yes.
Where would that fit into this? Has that been effective from an outsider's perspective? Because obviously I've got details and stats and stuff, but from an outsider's perspective, you being the outsider, where would that sit in that?
Is it strong enough to be a campaign?
It's a one campaign.
Yeah, so it's that thing of campaign, isn't it? It's the you're trying to disseminate information, which we all do all the time as what we do as a job. I think it's that thing. I 100%. You've got if you're in there, you've got my vote. It's that challenge of getting things out there. It's an issue that people are facing at the moment. Facebook have changed the way they work. You are not seeing nearly as much of the private stuff as you did before. You're not seeing, all those things. And we are so strongly entrenched in Facebook, in the vocal side of being a driving instructor. There's so much on there that I think, it's a wake-up call of, if we lose that, we lose a strong voice. the ability to communicate yet again. We can't afford to. We need to have different ways to communicate, need to look at all of those options and join the dots. So I think the thing about about campaigns is it's being a good campaign, and it's also having the reach and the voice. If you don't qualify for that for one of those reasons, that's not your fault. We're not supporting our own. We're not supporting these things. Now, you can't support it if you don't see it, so it's a bit catch-22. But, maybe more re-sneezing, as I like to call it, stolen from Seth Godin, Purple Cow. But anyway, re-sneezing of, if you see it, shout about it. And maybe let's make it a little bit like, the old, can't think what they're called, the letters that used to get through where it said, you're going to die if you don't give this to 10 people of the 80s or, early 90s. Let's make it that when you see something that's good, don't just reshare it and tag 3 people that you think would be interested in it. And if you get tagged and you're interested in it, you've got to do the same. And maybe we can fight back a little bit against these algorithms that are trying to squeeze us out to make money.
I've got a cunning plan. You'll like this.
I'm glad you said that carefully.
Yes. We're good. Me and you and all other instructors that listen to this are going to campaign for driving instructors to Vision Zero to win this campaign. As a result of that, I will then put forward driving instructors to Vision Zero campaign and the campaign to get driving instructors to Vision Zero to win this. So I will win first and second prize. Prize number 1 will be driving instructors to Vision Zero. Prize number 2 will be the campaign to get driving instructors to Vision Zero to win this.
And if we do that and I support it, I could get 3rd place because I could do the campaign to support the campaign to get it to,
We found our promotional clip for the show. That's good. I can't know if I can bother doing that, but I might do. I'll give that some thought. However, the next one is one that I think I would be daft not to put myself forward for, because Content Creator of the Year.
I won that once. Was that Go Roadie or was that Intelligent Instructor? I think it was in Go Roadie.
Yeah, Go Roadie. I think it was for creating this podcast.
Yeah, it was for my podcast appearance.
Do you know what? I might start that campaign as well to get you to win the Content Creator of the Year. And then you can win it, and that's be a picture of me looking really pissed off in the background.
I'm just trying to see if it's the one on my shelf amongst the other awards. I'm not sure, but yeah.
Who would you vote for that? Taking me out of it, because I don't want to be annoyed that you don't say me. Who would you vote for that, Chris?
No, I would vote for you. So, I'm... Again, do you know what? A bit like I said about John Rogers. You are so prominent that you are the podcasting landscape, and therefore you get ignored sometimes because we see you there all the time and we forget the effort and the quality and all of the things that go into doing what you do, right? And that's not me blowing smoke. Genuinely, I get to turn up and have some fun. It's great. I love doing this. Thank you. I appreciate it. But you do the hard work. You get to take it seriously, and I get to enjoy it. And if we take you out of the equation, there's some driving instructors that jump to mind. There's a group of instructors that are on TikTok that are kind of gathering together a bit and trying to improve the social media side of things. As an instructor, I get more annoyed than I do inspired, because there's always something, and that's my problem, not theirs. But there's always something that they'll recommend that you steer with one finger, or, that you try and push the brakes with your hands to get good at it while you drive. I don't know, something silly. That criticism of things, I respect them putting it out there. I think it's great. And, I'm trying to engage more positively with them. That's one of my things I'm doing at the moment. But I think I struggle to find something that feels positive rather than self-promotional. I say that as someone who occasionally gets accused of being self-promotional, so I know what that's about. That positivity, it is a struggle to find something else out there that kind of stands out on socials in that way. And there's nothing wrong with self-promotion. We're all running businesses. It's all great. I just think you do a lovely job of not making it seem like you're, a business doing a thing, you're doing it for all these other reasons. They're the number one thing. It's that's your focus is road safety and improving instructors' worlds and all of those other things. And so you shouldn't get overlooked, and you should be at the front of that queue.
I appreciate those words. I was genuinely trying to steer you away from that, but I do appreciate it. But look, I will be completely honest with you. I will probably finish third in this category. The first will be Francis, and the second will be Car School Confessions, and then it will be me, because the people that vote for those will not all be driving instructors. There will be others, and obviously therefore larger numbers in that sense. And also, and this isn't just me, this will apply to a lot of different categories as well, where people kind of become a bit complacent with stuff. So I think that works. However, I am going to touch on one thing you've said, because every now and again, I allow myself to be the smug little sod. Every now and again, I think it's important to acknowledge stuff and allow yourself a little bit of smugness now and again. And every now and again, I do an impression of Will Smith from Men in Black. And I'll listen to another podcast, and I hope no one takes offense, but I don't overly care. I listen to another podcast, I watch a webinar or YouTube video or whatever, and the Will Smith from Men in Black comes in my head, and I just go, difference between you and me? I make this look good. And that's my little smug moment, like, yep, okay, you go beyond that, you're being a dick, let's move away. But there you go. There's two more I want to touch on then. I want to touch on this one, Rising Star of the Year. This is sponsored by the ADINJC, Rising Star of the Year. Now, I'm going to put my name out here straight away. And I think this is taking a slightly different take, potentially, on what they're referring to, but I'm going for it anyway. And I'm saying Gary Thomas for this, because I think that he is everywhere and probably knows more about the industry than me and you combined at the minute with the amount of stuff he's gone on to. But I would throw his name in the hat for this.
And his name was the first name that came to my mind. What I would be really interested in is how many people know who he is, because you can never tell that.
Everyone knows who he is. Like, everyone I speak to knows who Gary Thomas is. I don't, whether they've been in this for 40 years or 4 minutes, they all know him. He's more popular than you, not popular. He's more well known than you and I combined. Everyone's more popular than you and I combined, but he's more well known than you and I combined.
It seems that way, but I want to know if the real world seems that way. I've had the same thing when I've gone to something and people have gone, well, surely everyone knows who Chris is. And no, and I don't expect them to, but they have, and I've kind of gone, well, let's not make an assumption. I think it just depends on the bubbles, and it again highlights how rubbish we are at doing that as an industry. Next put in the chat Becky Seaton. I think she's made a real noise this year. I want to see what's coming next from her. This is with the greatest respect, and I have got a lot of respect for what she's doing. I don't think she's done something award worthy yet, but I think she could. So for me, she's one to watch rather than one to to sort of celebrate yet. That's that. Bring it on. That's a challenge, and I want to see her succeed at it.
You know what? I'm going to step in there, and I don't normally interject, you know that, but I'm going to step in because I completely agree. And I think the thing that sprung to mind is, I joked the other year about the Instructor podcast not winning an award. Now I threw a tantrum, but I probably didn't deserve to. This year is a year when I've created stuff. Like, I've created stuff from day one, but it's hard to explain, but it was new, it was fresh, it was real. And yes, you know what? This, being honest, even though I don't like saying it, it did change. It did have an impact on the industry. It did shift things. A lot of the stuff we're seeing today is a byproduct of what I did in 2021 and as a result. But it was this year, 2024, when it made a difference, like a real difference, a real sense. And maybe that's where you're kind of seeing Becky Seaton is now. And she's laying those groundworks, and whether it takes a year or 3 years, that shift can then come in. Very, very few people come in and make that massive impact straight away to anything, not just driving instructor, whatever world you're in. It's, you lay the foundations and then you can say blow up. I think I know what I mean by that. Blow up.
Yeah. And it's that thing with her. I say she's been there, done that. In that you know you're working really hard and it means a lot to you, but the world hasn't, you haven't delivered what you want to deliver yet. And I think there's always a danger when we get recognition too early that we end up not achieving what we would have achieved. And I would hate that to happen. I want, for an award like that, I want it to be something standout, something different that other people haven't done before. And, I think that there's quite a few communities that have started up. I think there's a bit of a post-COVID thing with that. Some of it is that people have put the work in, or they've been inspired to do something different, or whatever those things might be. Starting a community isn't the thing. Doing something with the community is, and I think, it'll be that. Where's it going? What's it going to be? And I hope she listens firstly, but I hope that, say, because we've sort of, I won't say we, you backed me, but I picked on Becky. That she takes that as a positive of going, yeah, brilliant. Let's see where it's going to go, because I think she's got the ability to do it. And say that there's others that haven't been as prominent but are bubbling away in the background, have got an opportunity. The guys on TikTok, it's a group. I don't think they go under a kind of a collective, so I won't pick one out. But there's a group of instructors that do lives together. They're supporting each other's development and of their socials, and how to do it well and do it right, how to get the traction to get those things out. I think that's brilliant as well. Again, let's see what we get from that. I want some tangible stuff. I don't just want, there's a name that lots of people are talking about. I want to know why. I want to know what. I want to see something coming through.
Yeah. No, I get that. And look, the thing is, it's this sort of thing. We've all just got different opinions, and whoever wins, fair play to them, because they've had an impact on enough people for him to vote for him. And there are a bunch of awards that a few hundred people, maybe a couple of thousand, are going to vote for, So I don't want to take it too seriously, but I do agree with what you've said, and I can see not necessarily the similarity between me and Becky, but the similarity in what you're saying, in how I was 3 or 4 years ago, and how everyone was when they first started. And for me, again, going back to that 2021, it was, I was finding my feet. I was creating stuff, but it's finding my feet, and it was then built up. And it's like, here's a thing, rather than here's me talking to people, and that's the Meganar comes along. And yeah, all right, I'm hosting it, not presenting on it, but it's my creation. It goes beyond me going, here's someone to talk about this thing, to here's a thing I'm creating. And there's been lots of examples of that. And I'm meaning to be derogatory myself there, actually, not overly positive, but that's kind of the point I'm making. Let's move on, because I'm getting myself flustered. Because the last one I want to mention, driving instructor of the year, because I want to ask you why, or if would be a better word, if this matters, and if people should be putting themselves forward for it.
If it mattered, yes, they should. But it's that thing of, when a customer phones you up, how do you stand out? I haven't yet seen a driving instructor of the year award go to someone who's done something different. They've been doing the same job, because we all kind of do. And again, it's that thing about being standout. You're getting an award for being standout. As we've said previously, too often it's about who who can rally the most votes. It's about how many people you know, how many contacts you've got, rather than are you doing really well. And that's kind of how driving instructing works, isn't it? It's, you're the best instructor I've had. I've only had one, but you're the best instructor I've had, so I'm going to shout about you. You might be rubbish, but it's the best experience they've had, so we'll make sure that goes down as being awesome. Some people think McDonald's is the height of cuisine, so it's that same kind of thing. I don't know. Maybe we need. Do you remember the? Oh, what was it called? No, because I can't remember. It was the thing on TV, and they had to go through a set of puzzles, and at the end there was an assault course. And it's going
Crystal
to
Maze.
no Krypton Factor. Thanks,
It's on
Nick.
fire tonight, is Nick Smith.
Yeah, I know.
I'll shout him out for that one.
What would we do without him? Yeah, the Krypton Factor. Do you remember the Krypton Factor?
Yes.
That was epic. Bring that on for driving instructors. There's no way I'm ever winning. But yeah, bring that on for driving instructors. Let's do that. You can get your votes in. We'll do the same thing. We'll have that list of instructors who are going to be Instructor of the Year. But that's it then. You don't get to choose them. They get to win it. And they get to do it Krypton Factor style, with a mental agility test, with a physical test. Let's put those things in there. They've got to pass the theory test. I will be available to help anyone who wants to train for that one. And yeah, they've got to do these different things and drive around a route backwards. I don't know.
I'm gonna. I don't know how to respond to that other than it does sound fun. But what I will say is, I think the votes for this are judged slightly differently. I think a lot of weight on this is put on the quality of the submissions rather than the quantity of the submissions. And I know that because I finished second in Yorkshire last year, and I didn't nominate, and I got very few votes, and it was the quality of the people that were responding rather than the quantity. So the first thing I would say, if anyone is considering doing this, don't be put off if you don't have a lot of people to put on, because even someone a bit crap like me can finish second. So twice now second. It's really annoying. I'd rather not finish. But I don't think it matters, but it's fun and it's great marketing, and I just think it's a lovely thing, and it's a really positive thing for the industry. It's if we can almost compare it to a driving test, why be fault focused? Let's look at the positives on stuff. Let's look at what went well. Well, we can do that with these awards as well. Someone not finishing first isn't a bad thing, but it's a great thing for the person that finishes first. So I think they're a lovely thing. I do think the more people that get involved, the better. I think it's a lovely time as well when you see all these driving schools posting up finished silver or gold or whatever it is, and in top 100. And I just think it's a positive image for our industry as a whole. And the more people that do that, and the great thing I remember from last year actually was I saw less people moaning about it, and I saw more people sharing and commenting other people's success. And I noticed that more last year than I did previous years. And I don't think it's just I hope it wasn't a one-off. I hope that continues and we can share each other's success, for lack of a better word. So I would encourage people to do it. I'll put links in the show notes as well so you can find your stuff. But like I say, it's fun. I think it's positive. It looks good and feels good for the industry. And if you don't make that top 100, it doesn't mean you're a bad instructor. It means your pupils might not be great at writing application forms are.
I suppose if we looked at it with a bit of a flip, it's an awesome exercise because we don't necessarily look at our successes very well. It's an awesome exercise in you reflecting on what you do and how you stand out, because you've got to write that down. And if you can't, then maybe it'll give you some ideas on how you could. So maybe if you don't feel that you can enter because you haven't got what it takes, maybe next year, maybe that's your goal of going, right, I'm going to put something in place so that I feel I can. You don't have to do it when you get there. It's up to you. But so I feel that I can compete in whatever that is. And if you don't care, awesome. That's fine. You don't have to. As you said, you don't have to blow out everybody else's candles to make yours shine brighter.
The last thing I'll say on this is that even if you don't put yourself forward, you still may end up in that top 100 because they reach out to students through First Car. So your students may still get approached. And if they opt to fill in those forms, which mine did the other year, because again, I didn't put myself forward last year, and then I finished second. And it's like, that was a genuine surprise when I found that out. And it was a lovely little surprise, actually. Doesn't mean anything in the grand scheme of things, but I'll tell you what, it's nice when it happens. So, even if you don't put yourself forward and you're one of those people that moan about it, you still might win. So, in fact, I hope that the person that wins this year is someone that moans about it every year and doesn't submit. But let's let's move on from the awards then, because I want to talk to you about pet peeves. Because, Chris, earlier this month, you sent me a message and said, can I talk about this thing that's really annoying me? And I said, yeah, of course you can. And then I think it was like yesterday, I said, how about we do a thing on pet peeves and all the other ideas that I deleted? So let's share a couple of our pet peeves. What's your, well, in fact, I'll tell you what, start with the thing you wanted to moan about.
Right. And it's going to sound pathetic. And I put my hands up to start with.
It's
all
a
right?
pet peeve. That's the idea.
Absolutely. And it is. And the question is then, does it matter? Yes, it matters to me. So it's going to matter, right? And I think it matters because it's symptomatic. So this is me defending myself before I jump in with both feet. I do theory. As well as theory, I do part one. So people get in touch who have been struggling, failing. They think they've done everything that they can and they're still not being successful. And I will ask them, what have you been using to prepare for it? And they will tell me that they've been using the official DVLA app. And it really, really, really grates on me that if you can't get DVSA right and DVLA, then there's probably other big things that you're missing as well, being that, they are the bodies. And I remind myself that it's just 4 letters and maybe people are just getting it wrong, but everybody gets it wrong. It's kind of a starting point for me. And therefore, every time I see it, I inwardly groan and kind of go, I can see where the problem is. So it's a symptom. And I don't know, should I feel that way? Should it matter to me if people who are either coming into the industry or are already in the industry, you still get people saying DSA as well. That happens. It almost feels like you're showing, by getting it right, you're at least showing that you care enough. Maybe that's a me thing. See,
initially when you first messaged me this, I think I replied back, yeah, it's not important, don't matter. And I've had time to think, and I think I've got a slightly different opinion now, and I'll explain as to why. And it's your name, because I listened to the green room that we did last year, or the end of year review today, and one of the things that I joked about on there was the number of misspellings of your name. But the thing is, they're not misspellings. It's a lack of care. Because if I spelt your name and I accidentally put a P instead of an S or an A in front of an A, sorry, an A instead of an E, that's an honest mistake.
Mm.
And I think there's nothing wrong with honest mistakes. I think maybe this is the difference. But I'm not going to name them, but the people in the past that spell your name with an A instead of an E, or an A and an E, or God knows what other combination, and it's not an honest mistake. At least this is what I believe. It's not an honest mistake. It's because they haven't cared enough to actually check how to spell your name. And I hate it when I make these mistakes. And I do make these mistakes. And now and again, someone will tell me, and it's like crap. And I'll have to go back and change the title of a podcast. But it's too late. It's gone out. But it's an honest mistake. It's not that I didn't care. It's a typo. It's that type of thing. So that matters to me because it's someone not paying that care. So to me, I think it matters if someone doesn't care enough, but it doesn't matter if someone's just made a slip of the tongue or if someone just genuinely doesn't know. I think that's a different thing. That'll be my thought on that, because I know we said we'd kind of share as opinions on each other's pet peeves, and I think that'll be my opinion in that it matters and it doesn't matter.
Yes. Yeah, no, that's fine. I just for your pleasure, at the moment, I am Chris Bensted. It's not the end of the name. It's the beginning. The E has become an I, and it's multiple occasions from people that are not connected. It seems to be the new trend. So I'm sure I will have lots of people loving that and using it. Yeah, it's as you said. I don't really care when someone's saying it's a joke. It's fine, whatever. But there is that little bit of, especially if you're tagging someone on Facebook. If you tag, Chris Bensted with an A, it's some bodybuilder. I don't look like that, and I don't want to disappoint when I turn up.
I should just mention here, there is a video going around somewhere where I spelled your name Christ Bensted. That is intentional for anyone. Don't come at me with this. But here's the thing, if you search my entire history, you'll find me spelling the name wrong somewhere. That's an honest typo. It's not a thing. It's like go back to the episode I recently recorded with Pascal Poppins, and I'm not saying a surname again intentionally because I butcher that surname when I say it. But it's still me trying. Anyway, let's step away from that now. We'll go down a whole other path. Let's move on. I'm going to give my first pet peeve, and I'm interested in whether this matters, Chris, or whether I'm being a whiny little bitch. So it's trainers who post the successes of their ADIs or PDIs on a part 3 or standards check before the ADI or PDI does. Because I've had people that have spoken to me, and not necessarily overly negatively, but they've told me and said, this was out there before I even celebrated it. That is one of my, I think it's disrespectful. I think it's, you're already agreeing with this. I like it. I think it's attention grabbing. I think it's amazing marketing. It's brilliant. You get your name out there with them before anyone else does, and they look like they are PDI or ADI or whatever that you've taught for 7 years. But I just think I think it's disrespectful. I think it's attention grabbing and not a fan at all. And by your expression, you're nodding and not and agreeing moans. I'm presuming you're along a similar mindset.
I want to double down on that because as at one point I was trading under the industry's best kept secret, because if you can name them as a trainer, I have probably worked with them at some point on something where they've got in touch and said, I don't know this, can you help? So what then often happens is, people will go to different trainers for training. And I love that. I think that pick and mix approach is awesome. I fully support it. Very often it'll be the same names that come across and everything else. And I'm not big on shouting about it because it's not my success. It's something I should probably be better at, encouraging people to give me reviews or to shout about the fact and, that I've been involved. I'm not good at that. So I don't. So when the person that they've failed with more than once then shouts about how successful they've been, and what they're really shouting about is that I fixed the problem, that really grates on me. So I get it, So just taking it that one step further, it's that thing of the trainer making it about them. That, for me, that's the bit that grates. And I think I agree with you. I think it's rude if you beat them to the punch. But I kind of think maybe let them decide who they want to credit. And I'm not saying I want to be credited because that's not the me thing. But they might not feel, you don't know who else they've been to. They might not feel it was you that got them there. You're claiming that glory. And yeah, I've seen a few go up that I know the trainee wouldn't ever have put their name to that one. But yeah, so yeah, I agree with you absolutely, and I would add to that the glory hunting side of it. Yeah, equally grates on me.
I mean, in theory, any PDI that qualified that has listened to my podcast, I could claim credit for.
Yeah,
and well, I don't want to. I don't have a problem with trainers sharing the successes. If they consider it their success, then that's great. Because in a similar, it's not the same thing, but in a similar way as the instructors, we share our learners' past pictures. It is marketing. There's I don't have an issue with that. I think there is a slight difference, and I think I would be more inclined to wait for that person to post, whether it's about them or not, wait for them to post, and then just share that, because that is them making it, as you said, about them rather than about the trainer. But it is a little pet peeve. And I just want to touch on this because in the chat, Guy McMillan said, welcome to the Green Room, Grumpy Old Men Edition. And I think that will be the title for the show. So Guy is getting credited for the title for the show, Grumpy Old Men Edition. But yes, that was my first pet peeve. What's your next one, Chris?
I was thinking there were a few, and one of them I'm not going to go down the route of, because we sort of mentioned it with the names and stuff, which is spelling errors. If the word is a driving word, maneuver's the hardest one of the top 40 most misspelt words in the English language. It's important to the job. try to learn it. There's that approach, but I get it. And, I'm unofficially dyslexic, as in I haven't been officially tested, but I've been unofficially tested and I did really well. So I get it. I will never pick up on someone's spelling. Just make the effort. But
just before I move on from the spelling thing, a little anecdote for you. I recently, this week, in fact, released an episode of the Instructor Unplugged in my premium membership. And it was a little episode about maneuvers and about different ways we can tackle maneuvers. And in my notes for that episode, it was either just an M or an attempted word with a red squiggly line on it. It wasn't correct once. And it was only when I got the title of the show that I took the time to go and find out how to spell it. Because I still don't know. And I still had to get someone to check for me. There's no line under this. But can you confirm it's right, please? So, yes, I agree with you on maneuvers.
Then let's do a bigger U-turn than the DVSA could do, and we'll follow that route. So break and break. Please get it right. It really, really grates on me, knowing which one's which. So maneuver, I get maneuver. It's a horrible word. There's too many vowels. It's almost Welsh. So apologies to all my lovely friends in Wales. You know I love you. But the break and break, curb with a C, not a K. Just I think sometimes doing it. My favourite one, which I saw from an instructor. Sorry, it was from a trainee the other day. It comes up every now and again with pupils, and I thought it was just a mistake and dismissed it until I had multiple occasions of it. George Carriageway. Have you had a George Carriageway before?
No, but I do like that one a lot.
I love George Carriageway. I think he's great, but yeah, George Carriageway comes up surprising amount, and I think it must just be. It sounds like it, and why would it be Jewel? There's no reason. Jewel, there's the other one. Yeah, Jewel controls, Jewel Carriageway. We're not fighting with swords or pistols, so please do. Yeah, and I say that as someone who has had a lifetime of struggling with spelling and stuff, so I get it. If you're not good at spelling, fine. But they're really important words in what we do. We use them a lot. Have a go. Try. Yeah, that wasn't what I was going to say, but I'm going to go with that one.
Well, I like it. And I think my thought is it matters when it matters. So I think if you just type in a message to you or to I, or if it's like whatever, as long as I can figure out what someone means, I don't care. I think that if you're putting out something that's attempted to be professional, then you need to make the effort. So I think it matters when it matters. But I will just say, it's me in a nutshell. I once, for about a month, my Instructor podcast emails went out with the word instructor spelled wrong on every sync. So there's hundreds of people across the space for a month every time because I put it in the footnote and I hadn't changed it and I didn't realize. And instructor was spelled wrong. So, which isn't great for the Instructor podcast. On a completely side note, still amuses me when someone signs up to the Instructor podcast and immediately unsubscribes when they get an email about the Instructor podcast. That still makes me laugh so much to this day. It's like, what did you expect to get? But that could be my pet peeve, but it's not. So yeah, I think it matters when it matters is what I'd say. Okay, I'll move on to mine then. And I think that you're going to disagree with me on this one, kind of, because it's just... So, it's instructors waving when they see each other, but more than that, it's instructors getting annoyed when someone doesn't wave back, because I rarely wave back. And it's because I don't want to, because I just want to be with my student in my car, doing my thing, not worrying about being social to anyone else. I don't want to be social. I'm in my car with my student. I just want to give them my attention. That's enough social for me. I don't need more. So if I see you, I'll nod. I'll often nod. I'll just give a little cursory nod, but I don't want to do the big wave thing. And I've done it now. I don't say I never do it. Sometimes do it through reaction. But there are people that get annoyed by that. And there are people that I see on Facebook, I can't believe it. I waved at instructors. They waved. I'm like, well, first of all, what if they'll practice an emergency stop? That's not going to end well. Second of all, maybe they're like me and they don't want to wave because the reasons I just said. So yes, it's not the waving, because if people want to wave at each other, it's completely fine. It's the people that get annoyed when I don't wave back, when I just don't want to. Just leave me alone. Send me a message afterwards. That's fine.
You're right, because I disagree massively. No, it's a mark of respect. It's the same as getting someone's name right. It fits in the same category. You can't have it both ways. I'm sorry, but it's that thing of, I think the camaraderie in a job where we don't really see each other except for occasionally at a test center if you happen to cross paths. I got a message today that said, "Oh, have you seen so and so out on the road recently?" I'm like, I don't have a car. I'm not out on the road. No, I haven't. It's even more lonely. That's why I turn up to the podcast. And I just think that nice acknowledgement. You're not waving for you. You're waving for them. They might need that. You don't need it. You don't want it, but they might. So I would like everybody to make that effort for the other person.
No.
I thought I was going to get you feeling bad and
No.
convert you.
Look, I get your point. But I'm going to counter that with two. This is a hill I'm willing to die on, right? So first of all, I've put over 300 hours worth of content out free of charge for driving instructors, right? I will happily talk to any driver. I get driving instructors messaging me, not as many as you. I know that you're inundated, but I get instructors messaging me for advice, and I've had phone calls with them and all this kind of stuff. And I go to a test center, I'll happily talk to them. I put webinars on, I put people in touch with each other. I reach out to different sectors to bring people into our industry, to provide stuff for people. I'm doing all that. I can get away without waving, right? However, my second point will be, there are times I have to look after myself. And my social battery is really low at the best of times, right? So, no, it actually takes energy out of my social battery. So when I've got that energy and when I'm a bit bouncy and I'm happy and I'm in a playful mood, I will probably wave. But when I'm just kind of normal Terry, it's just like, just leave me alone. And you can wave at me. Actually, I have no problem you waving me, but it's like, I'm not waving back. I might give you a nod to acknowledge, use the word acknowledge. So I'm not ignoring anyone. If I see you, I will generally attempt to make some kind of eye contact or nod, but I'm not doing the whole social waving thing. It's not me. But I will happily come and talk to you at the test center. I will happily have a phone conversation with you. I will happily help with any problems you've got, but that's the one thing I'm not keen on.
I just tell everyone I'm doing an emergency stop lesson, and that will solve the problem. Because you don't want to wave on one of those.
But yes, so anyone that does wave me, I do apologize if I don't wave back. It's not personal. I just need to be left alone sometimes. Right, give us another one, Chris.
Is this the final one? Because
we'll do one more. We'll do one more each. Then we're going to record a bit of extra magic for our premium members. So yeah, give us one more.
Then I'm going to go with, I have a massive issue with driving instructors who have self-importance and just sit around moaning about things that don't matter on podcasts.
Well, you'll have to stop listening to Dipod then. Just stop it. I told you, difference between me and you. I made this look good. On the second promotional clip for the episode there. Okay. Well, I'm not going to respond to that. We'll move on to mine then. The last one I'm going to make is, and I do think this matters actually, not like the waving one so much, but it's on those learner groups on social media where the learner asks a question, even if the question is stupid from our perspective, and then a load of instructors come on and start slagging them off and start having a go. Because, and then we get the whole thing, well, Google it. And I'm like, well, this is their Google. This is Google now. This is what Google, if you go on Google and Google it, they will potentially bring up a Facebook post about it on the Google search. So they may well have gone onto Google, found this Facebook group, and then asked in here. And I think it's one of the most unprofessional things we can do. But beyond that, it's just unkind. And I know we have this whole thing about people being woke or snowflakes or whatever, but why would you intentionally be a dick? It's like I mentioned before about the waving thing, right? I'm not a dick about it. I don't give someone the middle finger. I just don't always wave back. So with this, it's not about being woke or being a snowflake. It's about just don't be a dick to them. Just leave them alone. Just don't have to be rude. That's it. That's my pet peeve.
If you haven't got anything good to say, don't say anything.
Well, you'd have been a lot quieter today if that case.
But no, I agree. I think also it's very easy for us because we are educated about it, we're experienced with it, to go, well, that's stupid. But it's no different to you saying the same thing to, you're getting a painter around to paint your walls and you go, oh yeah, it'll only take half a day. And they come around and look at it and they wet themselves laughing because they've got to prepare the surfaces and they've got to do all this, that, and the other, and you haven't got a clue about because you haven't done it. So, from an educated perspective, it's often easy to judge. I had the situation come up this week where a friend of the family got in touch, said on very late on Tuesday, yesterday, it's very late on Tuesday, we've managed to pick up a test for Friday. Can someone come and do an assessment lesson just to make sure that everything's good before we do the test? Been taught by the mum, been out and done everything, has done so with a previous child we also had the same lastminute.com thing with. And yeah, can we get someone in the current climate? Can we get someone to go and help out? So I, swore under my breath a bit, and then reached out and said, can anyone help? And managed to find someone to go and do it. It was actually their day off, but they did it as a favour. Went and had a look. It's very easy to judge that last minute thing, but you don't know the bit behind it and the fear that's being put out there about long waiting lists and you won't get one for 6 months and all of the other stuff. You've got to remember their perspective on it, and we don't want to judge those people. We want to support them. So it gets difficult, and it's the 100th message of the day saying, "I got a test on Friday. Can you help?" So yeah, I think sometimes we have to not say anything.
Agreed. So on that note, in a moment, we're going to have our after party with our premium members. So do you want to take a moment, Chris, just to remind everyone what you might have to offer and where they can find it?
So if you want theory support for your pupils, then please get in touch with Theory Test Explained on Facebook, on Instagram, or on TikTok, or theorytestexplained.co.uk. If you want support for you as a driving instructor for pretty much anything, then come to the DITC, theditc.co.uk. Ask your question, and I'll probably say Terry's got a podcast about it. And then I'll message him and say, can you send me the link? And he'll swear at me again because he has to then remember which one it was because I don't give good descriptions.
Always get it right, though.
Yeah, I know. It's impressive. That's why it makes me want to challenge you more next time.
This could be a new feature. We like challenge Annika, but with someone less attractive. Okay, so I don't know why I went there. But if you are listening to the Instructor Podcast Green Room Edition, and if you would like to join us for the after party or for this show that we're going to record or any of the other wonderful content that is in my premium membership, go and check it out, www.theinstructorpodcast.com. You can find more details over there, or you'll find a link in the show notes. Or alternatively, if you just really enjoy this content and you want to support the show, then feel free to sign up anyway. That way you're supporting the show, even if you don't want more Terry. But as always, thank you for listening, and let's just keep raising standards.
The Instructor Podcast with Terry Cook, talking with leaders, innovators, experts and game changers about what drives them.